Welcome to Tasting the Peninsula. This time we're at the Homa Homa Oyster Company. Mother Nature really turned out for our visit, especially the wildlife. This is a rare Homa Homa crane on its native shoreline looking for oysters. In this edition, Eric makes a surprise revelation.
Well, this is my favorite part of the show.
And just as he has for the last 40 years, Jeff says, shucks no, to a freshly shucked oyster.
For you? Not today.
All that and more this time on Tasting the Peninsula.
Welcome to Tasting the Peninsula. I have been waiting to come here to Homa Homa Oyster for a long time, and you're going to get to see it too. This is Justin and Dylan, and we're going to hear a lot about the best oysters in the world, I think. So what happens here?
So right here today, what you can see is the tide is in, high tide. So there's not a lot of farming activity, but we utilize the low tide to harvest the oysters. And then at high tide, we have the ability to go out with our boat and barge it in.
Nice.
So today being Sunday is a little bit relaxed. Tonight when the tide goes out, our beach crew will come and harvest. And then our barge, which is just right behind us here, will be utilized tomorrow morning to help harvest all those oysters and bring them in.
I imagine your whole world revolves around the tides here.
Absolutely.
I like it.
Really interesting that sort of the shipping clock operates sort of on a normal business time frame,
Right.
but the tide operates completely different.
Yeah, ways for no man.
Exactly. It takes an exceptional amount of planning and careful consideration to make sure that we have everything in the right day and time to honor the shipping
after
calendar.
100 years in business, it's their centennial. You guys have it down pretty good.
So you,
Always room for improvement, but we're pretty close.
so you harvest every day of the week, or when the tide's right?
Yeah, there's the tides are cyclical, and so what happens is you've got about 10 days in a row of harvestable tides. There's 2 tides each day, but only one of them, it goes out a little bit farther than the other.
I see.
And so on that lower of the low tides, depending on how far it goes out, we have an opportunity to harvest oysters.
Great.
So generally it'll be about 10 days in a row of great tides, and then beach crew will take a few days off, which is great. It allows them to sort of regroup and visit, spend time with their family, and then the cycle starts all over again.
This time of year, they're out at night. They're out there kind of digging clams and cooking oysters. It's cold, it's rainy, and then we have the high tides during the day where we can barge. So, the whole process can take a few years, depending
How
on
do
the
you
oyster.
see oysters? I mean, you use the shells that you've shucked, right?
Some of that, yeah. So we have a nursery down in Shelton where we get seed oyster in and we grow it up to size, and then they either go into bags on our tumble farm or they go out onto the beach just spread as beach grown oysters. We also do have a wild set that occurs on this shucked oyster product that we put back into the water, and the natural oyster stack just grows on that, and that's what we grow our clusters with.
I was fascinated when I heard about your tumble bags. Will you explain those to us?
Yeah. The Hood Canal has wonderful wild reproduction of oysters, but we also farm oysters from our nursery and plant them on the farm as well. And so when you're growing oysters, there's a multitude of different methods you can use. They call it on-bottom culture for what would just be either a wild oyster or an oyster that grows right on the bottom.
Right.
And the tumble bags are what we call off-bottom culture. So we put the seed into a bag that has a float, and I'll show you one of those here in a moment. And every tide cycle, that float tips up, and then as the tide goes out, it tips back down. And you'd have to think of it as sort of a nature's powered tide tumbler.
Almost like a rock
tumbler.
polisher.
Exactly.
Right,
A
yeah.
nature-powered rock polisher.
I
And
love
so the oysters that grow in those tumble bags end up looking and tasting different than the oysters that are grown on the bottom.
They're mostly blue pool, right?
Correct, yeah. All of our tumbled oysters here from our farm at Hood Canal, we call blue pools.
Nice. Well, shall we move on?
What a great lesson.
Well, we saw the buoy bobbing out there in the water. This is where it begins?
Absolutely. Our harvest crew, when they come in tonight, they'll have a list of production items that they need to go out to the beach to harvest, whether they're digging clams or picking oysters. And what they'll do is they'll go out, find the oysters, find the section of the beach that they're working for those oysters, count them into 120 count 10 dozen sacks, and then each of these clips will attach to a bag. And so at the end, they'll have a buoy just like this. And so the barge operator is looking for this buoy. This particular one has a black coloring on it, which would indicate a particular size or variety of oyster.
I see.
And so the beach crew can communicate with the barge operator just with a little ribbon like this. And so they'll pull that buoy, and then each of these clips would be attached to a bag, and that's how it comes on in on the boat.
And those oysters just bathing in that cold, salty, briny water. I like
Exactly.
it.
Yeah,
All right.
that's where all the flavor comes from.
Well, what's happening over here?
Right, so we're going to take a look inside this building here. This is our flow-through saltwater wet storage facility, and it's a place
That's a mouthfeel. I like it.
it's a place that we have the ability to store oysters between the time that they're out on the beach and the time that they're shipping in our fulfillment center. So this is our flow-through saltwater wet storage facility. Ultimately, we've got a pump deep out in Hood Canal, pumps the water in, fills up these tanks, and when they reach the top, it overflows and spills back out. And so it allows us to hold the oysters in salt water.
And running water.
Correct. And that helps to compensate for that clock I was referring to. Because the tide and the shipping clocks don't necessarily line up on the daily basis, this allows us to have a little bit more leeway. For example, each bag color represents either a different size or a different variety of oyster. And these oysters here are staged for us to pull out of the water 7 a.m. tomorrow morning and get ready for shipping. So you can see each tank has a little bit different variety or size. These are our blue pools that we were just talking about. These are some hamahamas. And then of course we've got some more hamahamas over here, and this tank's got a few manila clams.
I was just saying, I see some clams here.
Yeah, absolutely. So this water right here, you know, it's about 50 degrees, and you can see
Oh, that's not too cold.
that's
All right.
that's
Oh,
what.
Look at those babies.
Yeah, these are destined for our restaurant, and you'll actually get to sample some of these here just in a little while. And then on a normal harvest day, we'll have all the doors open here, and our crew would be washing and sorting clams. Almost everything is still done by hand. So our beach crew harvests by hand. The clam and oyster sorters, they sort for size and quality by hand. And then our fulfillment team boxes by hand. So at any given stage, there are 3 or 4 quality control points where the harvest crew, the fulfillment crew can make sure that those oysters and clams meet our core values and our brand standards, and that we are shipping the finest shellfish that we can farm.
Well, when I've gone after oysters, a lot of them have been in mud, and they need to have clear salt water go through them for a couple of days to kind of get the mud out of their system. Do you guys deal with that? Or because your things are hanging, you don't have to deal with mud?
Yeah, it's a little of both. You know, because of the topography and the varying, we've got gravel on the beach, we have mud on the beach. Sometimes you get clams from a sandier area of the beach and sometimes from a rockier area. And so everything that comes in, we give a really thorough rinse. We try to make sure that we can get it as clean as possible. That being said, we ship everything in an expedited fashion. So what we pull out of the water tomorrow will ship and be on restaurants in Chicago on Tuesday at lunchtime.
Ship all over the country, don't you?
Exactly. And so sometimes you'll end up with little crabs or small fish or something else in the box.
And you said they were delicious, those little pea crabs.
It's a testament, though. It's a testament to how fast those items get to their final destination.
Wow.
So I always think of it as not only good luck, but it's good luck, but also an encouraging sign. If your shipment is fresh enough to have lots of life in it, then certainly it's not been out of the water too long.
Exactly. All right. Well, how about over here? Hey, Dylan, this is your masterwork here.
This is something else, man.
Yeah, so these are our oysters that we grow here. We have our hamahamas and our blue pools. So hama hamas are beach grown right out here at the mouth of the river, and blue pools are in our tumble farm, one of which is directly behind us right here.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it's an art, shucking oysters. I know that I have a few scars left over from when I was young.
Yeah,
So anxious to see a master do it.
it is. There's definitely an art to it, and when you shuck hundreds of oysters every day, you get pretty quick at
I
it.
bet.
So this is a hama hama here
Thank you.
for you,
Not today.
and then
Not quite loose.
not loose all the way. I'll reshoot that one, I guess.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's delicious, briny. I don't mind having another.
And then this is our blue pool here. So that's our tumbled oyster.
The shell,
A little bit
the
fatter.
shape,
Yeah, the shape is totally different.
Yeah,
keep
so
making it loose. There we go.
the beach grown oyster is going to have a lot more frill, and then the tumbled oyster there is much cleaner with a deeper cut.
Totally different flavor. I love the brininess, but sweet carrot? I'm not quite sure.
A little bit of carrot, some cucumber. We get a lot of cucumber notes on the hamas, and then a little bit more of a kind of a sweet carrot or a kind of a lettuce vegetal note on the blue pools.
I see that.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the remarkable part is that these are the same species of oyster, probably from the same oyster seed, but based on the fact that they are grown in a different method in a slightly different location, you can see they look completely different, and they end up tasting different.
Well,
So you can have a variation in the growth and in what we call the miroir, which is
I love that.
the location.
Terroir for earth, miroir for ocean, water. So
Exactly.
I love it.
Another blue pool for you.
Must I? Oh, darn. That's elegant. That's layered flavor, but very subtle. I like it.
Something wonderful that happens that you're here to experience. This is the first week of November, and generally speaking, the salinity here in Hood Canal at our farm, it remains relatively high. Once the weather changes from the summer into the fall and we start to get the rain back, this river estuary, the Hamahama River, has a big influx of not only fresh water but nutrients. And so it drops the salinity just ever so slightly and adds a food source in the algae for the oysters, leading to a really nice flavor.
That's one of the best oysters I've ever had. Maybe the best oyster I've ever had. I love that.
Thank you.
And I've eaten oysters in Mexico, Gulf Coast, California. I've harvested plenty myself on Marathon. Yours beat the hell out of all those. I love your oysters.
Thank you.
This is an exceptionally special place, and that specialness of place is what really lends itself to make those unique oysters. Yeah, one of our core values is to leave something for the future generations, and we're the custodians right now. We're here to grow the best oysters we can and to take care of this place and make sure that it stays as special as it has been for generations, so that many generations into the future it can remain such a special place.
I hear the sixth generation of the family is coming online right now, so to speak.
Yeah,
2 to 18 years old.
absolutely. You can find them occasionally. You'll find them in the summertime when school's out. They'll be selling eggs and artwork that they've drawn out front, and they're all getting ready. Before too long, they'll be out on the beach digging clams and learning everything there is to know about the oyster business.
I love it.
That's great.
Well,
that is really great.
The demand for oysters, people always want to eat oysters when it's hot out. And of course, you can eat oysters when it's hot out. You can eat oysters year round. Right. But we're just starting the peak oyster season is from now until about Memorial Day. And so when the weather is cold, the oysters are at their happiest. And so the water's nice and cold and the weather's nice and cold. And so people are oftentimes like, well, it's cold out. I don't want to eat something cold necessarily, but this is the time.
Oh, it is good.
I'm going to try it.
It's been 40 years. It's about
40 years. I had a real bad experience. But with what he's been saying, the sweetness.
You got.
Try that one.
What does Hank Aaron say? Keep swinging.
Yeah.
Or Nike.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Do it.
Get back up on that horse.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Oh.
Yeah. My breakfast right there.
And most people don't realize that.
You want one?
Most people don't realize that oysters are a phenomenal food. They're low calorie, high in protein, packed with vitamins and minerals. It's really a superfood for us here. And when you compare it to other protein sources, think about this. It's one of the few protein sources that when you have it out on the farm, you don't have to feed them. Oysters are unique because they're actually regenerative. Not only are they sustainable, but they're filter feeders. One single oyster, this oyster here, in the right conditions can filter up to 50 gallons of seawater a day. So they're actively cleaning they're cleaning the marine environment, but they're also providing habitat for other species, and they're acting as sort of erosion control. You know, those oyster reefs help protect the shoreline, and so they're really an unbelievable food that does a multitude of things
the difference
for the
between the two?
environment and for the people.
Oh man.
They're not out there long enough for paying attention to make them very big.
We do find some pearls, and in our cannery
I've been
here, our
missing
shucker,
something.
he's got a little jar.
40 years of it.
Yeah.
But obviously your jewelry pearls, different species of oyster, different location,
Too,
and that's out in
Damn, that one is
Pacific,
totally different.
on the other side of the world. But you know, anytime you've got a bivalve like this and it's working through sand and grit, it happens. So we find the occasional pearl, but they're not anything necessarily you'd make into ornamental jewelry. No. They're kind of you know, interesting sizes and shapes and colors, but it does happen occasionally.
Well, this is my favorite part of the show. Dylan,
Gentlemen.
oh, that's beautiful.
So we have some roasted hama-hamas here. These are the smalls, so they're a little bit bigger than the extra smalls that we do raw. And we top these ones with the chipotle bourbon butter. So a little bit sweet, a little bit spicy.
Oh, that's a nice combination. All right.
Yeah, anytime you're going to cook oysters, we always recommend that you size them up just a little bit, because as they cook, any meat's going to reduce down just a little bit. And so scale your oysters up whenever you're going to grill or smoke them.
All right, and then here, we've got some steamed manila clams. That's just a very traditional preparation of white wine and garlic. And on this side, the purple savory clams we were talking about.
Those are
tomato
beautiful.
And chorizo, a little bit of chickpea.
These bowls are super handy too, because the lid doubles as a spot you can put your shells.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm in love. It's a little sweeter than I expected, but the spice doesn't overwhelm the oyster. Can people who come to Hama Hama get this here?
Yeah, our restaurant here at the farm is open Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we've got a full menu, so you can see people will come out no matter the weather, rain, shine, but we're here just about 365 days a year, with 363 days a year, I should say. But on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the full restaurant is open. On the days where the restaurant isn't open, we still have our farm store open. And so there's a limited menu there, but still an opportunity to get fantastic food.
Well, we'll finish up our episode there.
And then we have a bowl of our clam chowder. Enjoy.
Those are incredible. So, these are the purple clams. Are they steamed in just water or Chardonnay or?
No, so those are steamed in a tomato and clam broth.
Okay.
Yep. There's a little bit of chorizo in there, and some chickpea.
This is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
You, sir, are a master in the kitchen.
Those are great.
Thank you.
Got a piggyback.
Yeah, that counts as one. That's only one.
That's one. So this is not sweet at all. It's savory. It's beautiful. And I'm messy.
Let me go grab you a napkin.
Thank you.
That's the best way to eat seafood, is to really just get in there.
You know, I'm an enthusiastic guy.
Oh yeah. Here, we'll get you a shell spot down there on your end of the table.
Try this. Those manillas are nice. Very nice.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're really excited to be food producers. As the population is growing and we need to make sure everybody's got delicious and nutritious food, it's really exciting that we can provide such an incredible product for people to eat.
Well, here at Tasting the Peninsula, we like to do our shows on the Davids, not the Goliaths. And while, how do you see yourself? I know that you're a David, but you make some incredible sales across the nation. So tell me about it. What were you saying earlier?
Washington State is the leading producer of farm shellfish in the United States of America, which is fantastic. That's something we're really proud of here in Washington, that we grow some of the finest shellfish in the world and ship it all over. That being said...
#1 in the country.
That's right.
Wow.
That being said, 91% of the seafood consumed in the United States is imported. So while we're doing fantastic work and providing thousands of jobs and generating hundreds of millions of dollars of income, we feel like there's an exceptional amount of room to grow and expand that business to help keep a lot of those community dollars flowing into, like you say, into the Main Street area, providing excellent jobs for Washingtonians and making sure that our standard of living and our livelihoods are protected. So an expansion of that already fantastic industry would be phenomenal help.
Well, you guys do an incredible job. And that was before I even started tasting it. Oh my God. I don't think I can
Now
stop.
I see what I have missed for about 39 years.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful place to visit, and then once you eat the food, it'll change your life.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I eat this every day.
You don't have to ask.
I understand that.
You don't have to ask me twice.
So tell me about your restaurant.
I mean, we're very much an outdoor establishment, as you can see. We have a
And I love
number
it.
of covered areas. We have our outdoor kitchen here behind us. Generally speaking, we stay fairly busy. This time of year it starts to slow down, but in the summer we'll see close to 500 guests a day.
Oh, it was packed last time I came through.
We had to park
Yeah.
2 football fields down the road.
Yep. Yeah, it does get crazy.
It was crazy.
Especially in the summertime, you know, the big holiday weekends, we'll just have lines all the way down the parking lot. We do our best to get everyone in and get oysters in their belly.
People come here not just to grab an oyster and go. I mean, you had live music when we were here last time.
Yeah.
You had all kinds of people at table and these wonderful little structures that keep the sun and the rain off, but still open air.
You know, that concept of agritourism is something special here, that it's not like a normal restaurant. It allows us to do a little bit of education while also serving people delicious food.
And oysters are a specialty food, so if
Yeah.
you think about wine or chocolate, it has an incredibly passionate and dedicated following of consumers, right? So it's 38 degrees and raining right now, and these folks over here are having like the absolute time of their weekend.
Exactly.
Just having a blast. And you wouldn't think that that people would come from all over in this weather to enjoy this food.
One wouldn't think at all.
But at 100%, it's got that buzz.
I can't wait for this episode to air and our people to see how awesome you guys are. I have really loved coming here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been a true experience for me.
It's our pleasure. You know, obviously Dylan and I, everybody here that works at Hama Hama is incredibly passionate about what we do.
I noticed that, and you guys feel like a big family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to share that passion with guests, with visitors, is one of our favorite aspects of this job. It's really an absolute honor to have you all come down and try the food.
Oh, the honor and pleasure has been ours.
Both of ours.
I'm so glad that you've turned it around. You're now an oyster aficionado. I told you the following gets passionate. Once you're hooked, now we got you.
Absolutely.
And we can ship them straight to your doorstep.
Yeah, most importantly is that if for some reason you can't make it all the way to Hama Hama, we know it's a remote location. It takes dedication, but we'll bring them to you.
But it's not just the oysters, it's the experience, it's the people, it's the environment, it's
Absolutely.
the, you know, it's you guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a big part of it, and this is an amazingly beautiful place, extremely special place. And as Justin mentioned earlier, we're just lucky to be stewards of this location.
Well, before we head out, I'd love to see your farm store.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Exit through the gift shop.
Well, I will be spending a little money there.
We don't really design the tour that way, but now that you mention it,
It's not
we should
dumb.
start.
What do we have here?
So this area is what we call our stump bar. It kind of serves as a more casual walk-up area for folks that maybe don't have a reservation or don't want to wait for a table in the saloon.
So to get one of those special little, what do you call them?
A-frames.
A-frames. You need to make a reservation.
Yeah, typically for those, and occasionally they come up to walk up, but usually you make a reservation in advance. The reservation comes with a dozen raw and a dozen roast oysters, and then you get the table for 2 hours. It's got heat, gets you out of the sun or the rain, and the saloon experience there. And the stump bar here is just a little more casual. You can come up, get a beer, a dozen oysters to shuck yourself, grilled cheese or soups, and just kind of hang out.
You should note that if you are planning to come out and make a trip for a weekend with a reservation, those open on Monday mornings at 9 a.m. and they do fill up relatively quick, particularly in the summertime or when there's high peak volume. So definitely plan ahead and make those reservations. However, as Dylan said, if you sort of miss out on reservations or your plans change or you find yourself wandering by, this is a fantastic space.
Well, tell us about the farm store.
Welcome to the Hama Hama Retail Farm Store. So we're at the farm, just inside from the restaurant where we were. Some of the things I like to highlight, we've got some fantastic historical photos where you can see sort of traditional logging pictures and some barge stuff from back in the day. We also have a great map that highlights the various areas that we farm oysters around Puget Sound.
Nice.
And then the retail space itself has been curated for all sorts of different things. We like to have and highlight a number of local products from the peninsula. So we have Olympic Mountain ice cream from Shelton. We've got Finn River cider. We've got the CB's nuts. We've got the Jacobson salt. And so we're constantly on the lookout for friends and other businesses that we like to support, and we highlight them here, and it complements our seafood really, really nicely. We have recipe cards. Of course, the main attraction is that you can buy fresh fish, crab cakes, oysters, and clams to take home and prepare. With all the necessary tools, if you need a shucking knife or tips on storage, the fine folks here at the retail counter can get you all squared away. Some of the other products that we have here in the store, if you're above 21, we've got High Steel Brewing from Shelton, Washington. The High Steel Beer Company has an Oyster Bro Pilsner, and they just changed the label to have Adam James, our very own oyster farmer, right on the can.
Oh, now that's cool.
And if you're a wine
I love it.
If you're a wine aficionado, we have a collaboration with Cooper Mountain.
In Oregon, right?
In Oregon, yep, in the Willamette Valley. It's the Hama Hama Oyster White. And a portion of the proceeds from all the sales of Oyster White go to the Puget Sound Restoration Fund.
I have read about this. This is supposed to be really good.
And
I love wine.
Coincidentally, you know what it pairs really well with?
Let me think. Oysters.
And naturally, no gift shop would be complete on a 38 and rainy day if we didn't have the opportunity to get sweatshirts out there in the world.
An opportunity I'm going to take advantage of. I love this. So thank you so much for showing us around here. This has been amazing.
Yeah,
And getting me into the oyster world.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah.